and say, hey, go yourself. I'm finding a new company to do my windows.
They would say that
in a much nicer way.
exactly. All right, so today we're going to be talking about how to acquire businesses, more specifically cleaning businesses. But before we get into that, let's talk about how you're the newest sponsor of Toca Madera in Las Vegas.
Proudly sponsored. No, we're not actually sponsored. But it's funny. I had a TikTok go viral. We were just kind of chopping it up before we hit record about this. And it was kind of funny because I really got to feel the power of the internet of having like a viral video, because I made a top 5 restaurants in Las Vegas, and I did this video where it's like, hey, I live on the Las Vegas Strip, and these are I've eaten at every casino restaurant you could think of. Here's my top 5. Gave my top 5, and it's so funny because when you talk about food or you talk about restaurants, and it's funny because I picked Toca Madera at number 1, and I said it's the best restaurant in the world. And people were like, oh my God, you think that's the best restaurant in the world? Your taste is atrocious, this, that, the other, whatever. Well, I said I eat at Toca like it's McDonald's, and I actually, you eat at Toca a lot, I eat at Toca a lot. I love it. I really meant it when I said it's my favorite restaurant. And I went there a few days after, and the manager came over and introduced himself. And I was like telling them about the TikTok, and he cut me off mid-sentence. He's like, yeah, I saw it, actually. I was like, no way, you saw it? And he's like, yeah, we saw it. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I called you, I told you about it, whatever. Well, I'm at Toca Madera yesterday. I took my girlfriend and her family out for her brother's 18th birthday. Okay. And a whole different manager comes over. We start chopping it up. I'm talking about renting a room for the Super Bowl there. So I'm getting like details, and he's like, yeah, dude, I saw your TikTok. And I was like, oh, no way. He's like, yeah. The day after, it was actually one of our busiest days, and everybody was saying they saw the TikTok and they wanted to come try it. I was like, dude, no freaking way. That's so crazy.
That's really crazy.
I made the video in like 3 minutes. Just did no script, nothing, just off the cuff, and goes parabolic, and then now they're getting a lot of business.
Dude, it shows the power of TikTok, the internet. It's like you literally just, you said you did it in the morning before like morning meetings and stuff. Like,
yeah, I did in the morning.
Just pulled your phone up and boom. Now you're getting crazy discounts at this really nice restaurant in Las Vegas.
Yeah, they gave me a Noble 33 membership. That's the company who holds Toca. And they
I thought that was like exclusive. Like, you can't tell anybody.
Well, I think you can pay for it.
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
It sounds really cool and exclusive. Like Noble 33 member?
33.
Yeah, I'm Noble 33.
Yeah.
That's sick though.
No big deal. But yeah, it's cool. So like Mondays I get 50% off. The guy told me, he's like, hey, next time you come in, I'll give dinners on the house. Don't worry about it. It's like, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah, I'll make sure I go with you next time.
Yeah.
All right. No, that's super awesome though. Okay. Well, ready to get into it?
Let's get into it.
All right. Well, before we get started, some context here. If like you're new to the show, you haven't watched this before, we had a window cleaning business that we started back in 2017. Then a couple years into the business, we actually bought a business that already did window cleaning so that we could expand our own window cleaning business. And that's how we kind of got into the world of acquiring businesses. So let's start out by you telling me the story. Tell them the story about how that like came to happen.
Well, prior to that, we had actually bought another business before the window cleaning
Oh
business.
my gosh, man. Don't even remind me.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Of course you remember that. It was horrible. So let me tell that story
This
first.
is the story of how not to buy a business.
Yes. Okay.
Let's start with that. That's a great story.
So I don't think we're very public with this story. We haven't told it very much. But what year was it? Maybe 2018, 2019-ish?
Yeah.
Hadn't even cracked
Probably
our first...
2019.
2020 was our first 6-figure year, so it had to be before that. And I get a call out of the blue from some 949 number. So I'm like, okay, it's probably somebody who wants window cleaning. I answer it, and the guy's like, hey, I saw your listing on Yelp. Is this the owner of Orange Window Cleaning? I'm like, yeah, that's me. What's going on? And he goes on to tell me, hey, I have this solar panel cleaning business. I have this big contract where we clean like thousands of panels, and this contract where we clean thousands of panels. And I also have a fencing company, and I don't really want to do both. I want to get rid of the solar panel cleaning business, and I think there's a good opportunity for you to take my customer list, continue to service them, not only service them, but also upsell the window cleaning and et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, hey, it's
Right, because at the time we already did solar panel cleaning as like an add-on. So, I mean, it sounded interesting.
yeah. So with when you clean windows, you need a water-fed pole. It's connected to a purified water system, and you can extend the pole out, and that's what you also use to clean solar panels and windows. So we were talking about it, and we're like, okay, let's take a meeting with this guy. Let's see what happens. So we pull up to a Starbucks at like 8, 9 o'clock at night, right before closing. We meet up with this random dude who cold calls us. By the way, ends up being a great dude. I actually just got off the phone with him before we walked in here.
Coincidentally.
Yeah, coincidentally. Funny this comes up. And we're still good friends with him and his family to this day. But we end up chopping it up. He brings out this like printout of this massive Excel spreadsheet of all his customers, and he tells us the story of how he just bought some solar panel cleaning equipment from this dude up in San Luis Obispo, 3.5 hours north, and because we're in Orange County at the time. And said he just started cold calling businesses and landing these huge contracts. Like I'm talking like water plants. There was one installation that he did that was thousands of like 9,000 panels where he had to rent a water carrier to drive out there because it was like in a remote desert
water
area.
truck. Yeah.
And breaks it down for us, and we end up negotiating with him. And he's like, you pay me $1,000 and then give me like a commission off the jobs until you guys pay me back for.
Do you remember at the time what his revenue or profit was from the business? Because I want to say he had done around $30,000 in profit.
I was going to say 50 of total revenue.
That makes sense then.
He was doing all the work himself.
Exactly.
Though. Yeah. So somewhere around that range, super, super small, like super tiny. Well, we end up coming to a deal. He gives us the equipment. And immediately he'd been doing this for just under a year now, and so a lot of the contracts that he was servicing the prior year were coming up for renewal for us to go back and do it, except we owned it now, so we had to go service it. Mm-hmm. Well, we're like, okay, before we start sending our guys out to do it, let's figure out how to do it ourselves. And so he comes out to a job with us. I'll never forget this. It was a job in Huntington Beach. It was only like 300 panels.
So we're like, easy. Shouldn't take too long.
Light work. Easy. And we go in, and this dude has probably 500-600 feet of pressure washing hose, because you needed to connect the pressure washing hose to the brush that you use to actually clean the panels, which is this big circular brush. And it's big enough to cover a whole panel, so you just do one swipe up and down, and as you're doing the swipe, it's dispensing water with the pressure washing hose. So he's throwing this all over his shoulder and climbing up the industrial ladder inside this. It's like a manufacturing plant, and I'm climbing up like 30 feet. I'm like, oh my god, dude, this is
because I mean, keep in mind, like we're getting on the roof of an industrial, like commercial building, like like you said, 30 feet high.
Yeah, super high. So I'm climbing up there, and just the setup to this is such a pain in the ass. Seriously, my heart goes out to anybody who runs a solar panel cleaning business, because it's no joke. I couldn't think. You couldn't, and you have a big brain. You couldn't even think of a better way to do it, because you have to get the hose up there, because you have to get the hose up there. Then you have to drop it from the top of the roof. You have to tie it down so it doesn't all fall down. Then you have to toss it back down to hopefully you have another guy to connect it into your purified water system and your pressure washer, and kind of, connect it all together. And so you have to make like 2-3 trips up and down, because you're not going to carry all that hose, because you need the extra slack to be able to cover the whole building. And so it gets set up, and we start cleaning it. Well, halfway through cleaning it, the machine breaks down. The brush we're using breaks down. And so okay, it's fine. We have water-fed poles. Well, that's just taking, we're going to be here for days if we're doing it with the water-fed pole brushes. So okay, we need this brush fix. So we do like half of it, take everything back down, and I'm like FaceTiming this dude. His name's Connor, by the way. FaceTiming Connor. I'm like, dude, what's going on? It's broken. He's like, try this, try that. Trying everything. It's not turning on. So it's just busted. So he's like, okay, I'll come pick it up. We're going to ship it back to the guy, and he'll fix it. So that's what we do. We take the solar panel cleaning brush. We ship it back to the dude in San Luis Obispo, who, by the way, is the only guy in the whole country that knows how to fix these things and also sells these things because he had an exclusive like partnership agreement with the manufacturer. Manufacturer's in Germany. So just so happens that this is the only guy that can fix it. Well, I reschedule with the manufacturing plant guy. I'm like, hey, we're going to come back on this date because it'll be ready by then. Because that's what the dude who's fixing is telling me, is going to be ready by this date. Well, come to find out, it was ready, but he didn't ship it. And so the day before, we're like, okay, well, this is a big job. It was like $1,000 or something. And we gave him our word, so we needed to do it. So what did we do?
We drove all the way up there.
Yeah. We drove all the way to San Luis Obispo, 4 hours north, just to pick up that damn brush and drive all the way back in the same day. Got back at like 5, 6 p.m. just to show back up the next day and for it to break down again.
Yeah, that was the most inconvenient piece of equipment I've ever seen in my life, dude. This is not something you can just go to Home Depot and get a new one. Yeah. There's only one freaking guy in the whole country that knows how to fix his damn thing. Yeah. So that was our big learning lesson, is like, don't buy a business that relies on one piece of equipment that only one person can fix. Yeah. That sucked, dude.
Well, not only that, but also like we were doing some other jobs too, and we had to rent these big lifts that was just super sketchy, and we're up like 30, 40 feet on a scissor lift, and the wind's kicking and it's just shaking. I'm like, dude, this is just not the business to be in.
Yeah, I mean, and then another thing we realized once we were into the business was people don't really care that much about their solar panels being cleaned. They do it because, I got a couple thousand on the roof and we want to improve the efficiency or whatever, but like, dude, it's just a race to the bottom, right? Like they're not ever looking at those panels. So who's going to give me the cheapest price? Like that's who they're going to go with. And so a couple months into that business, we realized this is not it. Yeah. So, I mean, luckily Connor, how we're still good friends with him. He was a nice guy. And he's like, you know what? Fine. I'll take the brush back, and you guys don't have to pay me like the rest of the payments or whatever. So we got lucky on that one.
We did get really lucky, and Connor's a great dude. Shout out Connor. Owns a big fencing company in Orange County, Mike's Fences. Mm-hmm. If you need fencing in Orange County, you can call our boy.
That's the guy.
Yeah, so anyways, that was a whole debacle, but lots of lessons learned. I think the biggest thing was just divided attention equals divided results, because we had one thing working for us and we tried to go off and do this whole other thing that we thought was going to like work well, but it didn't. Right. And so we were just half-assing 2 things and it didn't work out. But we learned a lot. And then what happened with the next company? How did that come about?
Well, I think you're the better person to like start out the story, because you met somebody in a networking group that knew the guy.
Hey, let me just interrupt real quick to tell you about Home Service Academy. It's the company Sergio and I run. Home Service Academy is essentially a business in the box where our team will actually roll up our sleeves and help you build a house cleaning business and run it completely remotely from anywhere in the world, from dirt to however big you actually want to take it. To date, we've helped over 1,500 people start and grow their existing house cleaning businesses all across the US and Canada. It's something we've gotten very, very good at. And if you've been looking to dip your toe into entrepreneurship, whether that's to go full-time in a business, to replace an income, or just build a side hustle that produces you an extra whatever amount of money you want to make on the side, on top of your current 9-to-5, then click the link in the bio and book a call with our team. It's completely free, and at the very least, you'll see what it looks like to actually run one of these businesses, the time commitments, the amount of money it costs to actually start, and every good and bad thing that can come with running one of these. So again, if that's something you're interested in, click the link in the bio, and let's get back to the pod.
Andy.
Right.
Yeah, Andy.
So yeah, what happened there?
I was going to a tip group. It's kind of like BNI.
Yeah.
But just different company. And this group had been around for decades and decades, like one of the longest standing tip groups. And I was the window cleaner of the group, and there's a contractor and an insurance guy, and there's like 50 different categories in there of people that sell their own stuff. And the whole idea is you're there to refer business to everyone else. So if they're ever in a situation where they come in contact with someone who needs window cleaning, or they need window cleaning themselves, they're obligated to refer you or use your service. And so I'm sitting there in a meeting one day. I end up sitting next to the insurance guy, and he randomly just goes, "Hey, I've been meaning to talk to you. One of my clients, he's getting old. He wants to move out of state, and he has a window cleaning business, and he wants to sell it. So I thought, who better to buy it than you? You already have a window cleaning business." this also just coincidentally happens to be around the time where I start going on Twitter and I start reading much of content on mergers and acquisitions and read Harvard Business Review's How to Buy a Small Business. And we're kind of having this, we're listening to podcasts and we're throwing around the idea of buying a business, remember?
Yeah.
And then this falls on our lap and we're like, what the hell? Like, yeah, let's see what comes of this. So taking the lessons learned from the first go around, we talk with this guy. Doesn't have clean books, doesn't have clean financials. He still goes out and does the work, has like 1 or 2 helpers with him. But he's been in business for like 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, I mean, this is your traditional window cleaner, house cleaner, someone that has, I don't know, maybe 50 to like 150 like just accounts that they've been doing for 30 years. But at the end of the day, they're doing all the work. They don't have a CRM. Like literally all his contacts were just in his phone. And he just
You're in a
somehow
little notebook, like
down. He like wrote pen to paper, like I have this job on this day, and I mean, dude, there's not that much enterprise value in a business like that, but it could be useful because if you can pick up 100 contacts, and at the time we were like 95% residential. This guy had a couple of big commercial contracts, so we said maybe this is a good way for us to like get our foot in the door. So
yeah, they were big too. So he had Biola University and Chapman University, the 2 biggest private universities in that area.
Yeah.
Chapman in Orange County, Biola in like northern LA County ish. And so that was kind of what was really attractive to us. And
yeah.
so we end up meeting with this dude. Notice that he doesn't have books or anything set up. And he goes, yeah, like I read online, my business is worth like $300,000. And immediately we're just like, that was just out of the realm of possibility for us because we didn't even have much money. And so we end up talking him down to, well, am I missing anything in between? Or should I just jump straight into how we negotiated it?
Well, I mean, okay, one thing I want to touch on is how do you know what a business is worth? How is he so off the mark? And like, what is the right answer, quote unquote, to like what the business was actually worth?
Yeah, I mean, typically, especially a small business like that, it's going to be traded on a multiple of its profit,
right?
Which is tough to tell when you don't have clean books and you have the owner doing all of the work, because you have to factor in putting in someone in the place of the owner to run the business, right? So, and because he's doing a lot of the work himself, his margins are going to be a lot off. Because he's saving a lot of money for the business by not having to pay someone to do the work because he's doing the work himself.
Yeah, if you put a window cleaner in there, his profit margins would be so low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not only that, but because he's been the one doing all the sales, going to all the bids, winning all the estimates, you have a lot of risk because he's got these relationships built with these universities, with these residential customers over decades and decades. So what happens if we pay him a large amount of money up front and the customers go, oh, well, it's not blah, blah, blah anymore. It's you guys now. I don't want to use you. I'm going to find a new company.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but we have a certain way we price so we can be able to pay our window cleaners a certain amount so we can have good retention on our employees and be an attractive place to work for other people who want to get into window cleaning. So when you look at how he's pricing, a problem was he was pricing under market, and you can't really get those customers and immediately like, hey, we're the new owners, price is increasing, guess what's going to happen? And say, hey, go yourself. I'm finding a new company to do my windows.
They would say that?
in a much nicer way.
Exactly. Right.
So it's like you kind of have a lot of problems there of like, it's called like Keyman Risk.
Yeah.
And so we kind of took all of that and we said, hey, presented in a nice way and say, hey, look, we appreciate what you built. It's super respectable. You've kept this running for this long. The best deal we can offer you is, because it's very risky for us to come in and buy this, we can offer you a percentage of every job that converts to an orange window cleaning customer. And it'll be a tiered system. So every...
well, what we did, we separated residential and commercial.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we did a lower one on residential and a higher on commercial, because the commercial were the higher ticket jobs. That's where he's going to make a bulk of his money from selling this business. So we did, I want to say 10% residential. Every customer that converts from competitive enterprises to Orange Window Cleaning would be 10% to you. You don't have to do anything. You kick back, move wherever you want to move, and we'll send you a check every month. On commercial, it'll be 15%, and then for both commercial and residential, every year that would drop by 5% for 3 years, and then at the end of year 3 it would stop. And so what we did was presented that to him, and he had a lot of hesitations. I remember him getting actually pretty mad that we presented him that deal at the beginning. But over the course of 2 months, going back and forth, negotiating, he goes, "Can you just give me something down, some type of cash?" And we're like, "We could do $1,000." He's like, "Okay."
I mean, it was more back and forth than that for sure.
Well,
but
it was
like
for 2 months, yeah, back and forth. But by the end of it, it was like
you gotta put into context. Like he was wanting to move out of state, and he was already gonna buy the house, or maybe he already hit. I think he did buy the house and it was being built, right?
Yeah.
So he was kind of on this timeline, and there was nobody else that was gonna buy his business. So by us structuring the deal that way, assuming we kept a good bulk of the customers, we were gonna end up paying him somewhere around probably like $30,000 to $50,000, which is not that bad, right? Who else out there is gonna give him $50,000 for this business right now? Nobody. So, when you really crunch down the numbers, it made sense. He was kind of just going into the situation, which most people are, of like, okay, I looked on the internet, business said it said it was worth $300K, and I want all of that today in cash. So when you put that in your head and then you compare with this deal, well, yeah, it's not as sexy, but it's still $50,000, right? And then also the flip side, dude, we didn't have $50,000 to give him like up front. Like we didn't have that.
we didn't have 10.
Exactly. So we weren't even saying $1,000 just to be jerks. Like that was literally all we had to invest with. And the great thing about like business acquisition is there's no rules to it. You can set up a deal however you want. It could be 0 down, 1,000 down, 5,000. It's up to you. Whatever you guys agree on. So
Yeah,
that was like a really good lesson learned. I take a lot away from that.
And we ended up closing on that, and we ended up landing both those jobs. Biola, I think, still is with Orange Window Cleaning to this day with like $45,000 every summer.
Right.
We ended up doing Chapman too for like 30 something, and it was very lucrative for both of us. We ended up cutting. I remember the biggest check we cut him was like close to $11,000 in a month. So he ended up getting his cut, and everything worked out fine. The business was doing probably around $250K a year. Half of it was window cleaning, half of it was carpet cleaning, and we ended up soaking up a lot of that window cleaning revenue for only $1,000 down. So, great way to grow.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, fast forward to today. Now we have Home Service Academy that has over 1,000 people starting cleaning businesses, and there's been actually a few people in the program that have bought other cleaning businesses. So let's talk about how we would do that today. If we had a cleaning business, I mean, we do, but like if we had to buy a cleaning business to expand, how would we do it?
Yeah,
what are we looking for?
I mean, where do you want to start?
Well, let's talk about like what we're looking for in a good business.
Yeah, so I mean, the things I'm looking for is I want to know how big it is. I want to know whether the owner's in or out of the field doing the cleaning, because you're going to run into that a lot. You have a 100%. Lot of people who like might have a couple cleaners, but they're subbing in and out, and they've built a lot of the relationships with these people, and that's the reason they like to use them is because the owner still comes out. So going back to what I talked about, Keyman Risk, like you don't want to just jump in and buy and make an offer to a company who still has an owner doing all the work, because you have a lot of risk there of losing the customer because of the relationship with the old owner. Not only that, but pricing is something to look at. I want to know what their average ticket is and their average order value is on their cleanings. I want to know because if you have cleaners, especially if they're contractors and you're paying them a percentage and those jobs are underpriced, you're going to have to go in and strategically raise the prices over time to become profitable on those jobs. Like I said, you can't just go in and be like, hey, we're jacking prices up because you know what the customers are going to tell you.
Yep.
Go fuck yourself. So you don't want to run into that, especially if you're going to pay a lump sum down. And I also want to know how long the business has been around. Like how long have they had their customers? How long has each customer been with them? And I also want to look at how much infrastructure is built into the business. Now, depending on the size, there's going to be different levels. If it's a bigger business, you might have like, a couple of virtual assistants, a couple even U.S.-based admin people. They might have an office. There's a lot of cleaning companies, especially a lot of franchisees of these big cleaning franchises that have offices where they store all their vacuums, their cleaning equipment, and actually have the maids come in, get their tools, and then go out for the jobs. Mm-hmm. So I just want to look at what level of infrastructure there is, because if it's something where on the flip side, the owner has no involvement in the day-to-day. They have someone answering the phones. They've built a solid brand in their area. They have lots of reviews. They have a great reputation. And people are buying and purchasing their services because of the reputation and the brand, not because of the owner.
Right.
Well, then that's going to juice up the value of their business, and you're going to probably have to come out of pocket for a lot more down to be able to buy that business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because for that, you're paying probably two to three times profit, right? So if they're profiting, like 100K a year, now that business is worth 200 to 300K, and it really is worth that much, but not everybody has that to put down.
Yeah, if this company has someone answering the phones, someone managing the accounts, cleaners who've been with them for a long time, customers who've been with them for a long time, they've got a great brand and reputation in the area. You're gonna pay a good amount for that business. That's a solid business.
Mm-hmm. And how would you structure that deal if you were trying to negotiate that right now?
Something bigger.
Something like that. Where it's like worth 200 to 300K.
So I'm a big fan of cash flow. So I would 100% try to finance as much as I possibly could and get someone else to finance, either through the SBA or through the seller. And I would try to put 10, 20, as low as an amount that I can down, so I don't have to take, because you're likely going to be paying for this out of the profits of your own business. Mm-hmm. And the more cash you have in the bank, the better, because if you're financing something and let's say it's $100,000 you're paying, to make numbers easy, you come out for 20%, you put down 20K, you finance the 80 over 2-3 years. Well, now you can just pay those payments out of that business's customer base, if that makes sense. So you don't have to consistently take out of your business to pay off those payments, because with buying the business, you're buying cash flow.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as buying a rental property, right? Mm-hmm. You're getting the person who's renting out like your place to pay your mortgage. It's the same exact concept, just with the business. So the profits of that business should be paying off the debt service, whatever you're using to pay it, for the business. So you have an asset that is still worth a lot, even though it might not seem like it at first. Right.
And if it's a solid business and it's profiting every month, then you should be able to cover the debt payments with the profits and still have a little left over.
Exactly.
So,
and then like on the flip side, because most people listening to this are probably like, 5 to 10K a month. So it would make sense for them to buy a smaller business that was probably doing something similar in size, where like a 10K a month business, it's just a solo operator. Maybe she has like 1 or 2 cleaners, he or she, right? How'd you go about buying a business like that?
I would do it super similar to the way we did it with the 2 deals we talked about. I would just say, hey, I'm going to pay you a percentage of the jobs that convert to be my customers. Maybe I'll pay you some small amount down out of goodwill. But I mean, that's really about it. Like, we can talk about Lee's deal. Lee's deal is a great example of purchasing a smaller cleaning business. So we have a student named Lee. She's in Wichita, Kansas. She has a cleaning company. It does about 10K a month-ish. Yeah. She's got up to like 17 before, but hovers around 10. And she's not really liking Wichita. Well, another student's business came up for sale who was doing about 20K a month. And he's in San Diego. But there's a lot of problems with the business. So he's making 20K, but he's not that profitable. So she was able to get this business for an absolute steal, because it was very similar to the situation we ran into where the guy just wanted out. And You're going to run into that a lot, especially with these smaller companies, because you got to think about the pain of the owner. And a lot of these business owners' pains at these smaller revenue levels are going to be, they feel like they're owning a job.
Yeah, well, for this guy specifically, he lived in San Diego, but then for some reason moved to Florida, I think for his 9 to 5 job. And at this point, he was just kind of letting the business run in the background, but slowly it was going lower and lower. So he felt the need to just like get rid of it right now, that it might have more value. So like you said, he had that pain where he's like, dude, I don't even want to deal with this anymore. And I mean, those are usually some of the best deals you can make, because it's like they just want out.
Yeah.
So what most people, and for context, most people in that situation would just close a business and get nothing for it. So if you can give them $1,000 down and then pay them another couple thousand over the course of a year or two, total maybe like $20,000 for the business, that's a huge win for them. Instead of zero, right?
Yeah, yeah. And any business, and anybody listening to this who has a business, any business you can sell, any business that's producing revenue and profits, you can sell, even if it's a job still, because you just have to find a buyer who's willing to own a job. And they're out there. They're out there. Though there's always a buyer for something. So I would, if you're ever considering just shutting down a business, always shop it first to see if you can get something for it.
Yeah.
So usually you can probably find something.
100%.
But anyways, going back to the Lee thing, how exactly did she structure the deal?
So from my understanding, I don't know exactly how she structured it, but I know she put a little bit down and then said, hey, I'm going to pay you this flat rate, because they basically agreed on a price. And she said that she's going to pay that amount over the course of 12 months. So I forgot the actual price of the business, but I mean, that's something important to understand, is like price versus terms. Mm-hmm. I feel like that was an important lesson that we learned. You got it. You got that piece of advice from
Connor.
One of your, was it from Connor?
It's from Connor.
Okay. Explain that. Price versus terms.
Yeah. So price versus terms, like, if you're negotiating the sale of a business, sale of anything really, it's like, okay, if someone's adamant, I want this price, it's like, okay, you can have that price, but it's going to be on my terms. Because you might say, hey, I want $100,000 for my business. I say, okay, and you won't get off the $100,000. You need the $100,000. All right, fair enough. Well, my terms are going to be that $100,000 is going to be spread out over 3 years, and I might put $10,000 down. And pick one. It's either your price, my terms, or my price, your terms.
Right, but usually you want it to be your terms and their price. Or I mean, obviously the price within reason, but it's better to have like the terms you want, because you can make that fit within your situation. So
100%.
That's what Lee did. She's like, look, I'm not going to put down $20,000 right now, because cash flow, I'm going to put down $1,000 and pay you the rest over a year. And dude, right when she got the business, she already got a deal from that business, $3,400. So she's going to be able to pay that off within like 2 months of running the business. So that is a steal.
Yeah. No, it's really cool to see.
And that's what we teach in Home Service Academy. Just a little plug right there.
Click link in bio.
No, but I'm really happy for her.
Yeah, no, same. I'm super stoked for her. 3,400 out the gate on a construction cleanup is massive.
Yeah.
And she'll probably build a relationship with this guy, this contractor, whoever it is, to get more construction cleans, which are really high ticket in the cleaning world. So, yeah, super stoked for her. John Guzman, one of our coaches, also did something super similar. We have a whole YouTube video about that where we interviewed him for like over 30 minutes. That's on this channel. But yeah, growing through acquisition is a great way to grow a small business. I mean, we felt it. A few students in Home Service Academy felt it. And I think people look at it as like this daunting process, when the reality is it's not. It might take some work in a month or 2, 3 months, however long, but it's usually worth it, because the moment that closes, you just doubled your business or increased it by however much amount.
Yeah, especially if it's a smaller business like the ones we're talking about right now. You don't need to overcomplicate it, get lawyers and like all this, legal stuff. Like, we just looked up online some kind of seller's agreement, and we got that template and then just filled in our own information.
We literally edited 30 minutes before driving over to like close the deal. We're like, oh shit, we need an agreement. And then we pulled our laptop and like edited it real quick.
Yeah. Because, dude, how much money's on the line? Right. It's not enough to like make it a big old deal or anything. So
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I see this stuff on all over the internet where like people make buying a business to be this like crazy daunting process. It's really not, because like you said, there's no rules. There's no rules to it. Everybody thinks, oh well, I need to finance or I need to go to the SBA or this or that. It's like, just get creative. And I think the egg cartons girl is a good example of that, where she had zero money, Harvard business student, bought a business that was doing like $2 million a year in profit that just made egg cartons, and ended up buying it because she convinced the owner to sell her finance.
Yeah, and that one's like a really extreme example because that was a really good business to buy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you don't need to have a lot of money. You don't need to be an expert at like buying businesses. You can do it.
Having money does help. I won't lie, it does. But that doesn't mean just because you don't have money doesn't mean it rules you out.
Dude, I think it's kind of a cheat code to not have money, because then it forces you to be creative with the deals, right? Like, we didn't have the money, so that's why we were forced to only pay $1,000.
Yeah.
But
that's valid.
Yeah, I really believe that it is a great way to scale your business.
Same, man. You got anything else on cleaning acquisitions?
No.
Okay,
I think we put it all out there.
Can go into the boring business of the week then?
Let's go to the segment.
All right, we're doing a new segment, boring business of the week. What was that?
Just like that imaginary banner right here, it says boring business of the week.
Oh, okay.
You feel me?
You put it in post. Okay, so boring business of the week. This is something, I don't know why I've been thinking about this business ever since we made the YouTube video. So we made a YouTube video talking about a bunch of boring businesses. I made one. Sergio made one. There's like 12 different businesses we listed, but one I can't stop thinking about is mobile window screen repair. I don't think there's enough people doing this, and I think it's a home service that's going to get a lot of popularity in the coming years, because literally every house has screens. Maybe your mega custom mansion in the hills of Laguna Beach doesn't, but your average house has a lot of window screens.
Yeah, 100%.
And believe it or not, it takes some skill to repair these screens. But if you're just starting out, you can actually get started for super low cost and charge pretty good money to repair people's screens. As an example, when we're growing orange window cleaning, we constantly had people asking us, hey, do you repair screens too? Do you repair screens too? And I'd say, no, to the point where it was like, why are we not repairing screens? Like, how hard can this possibly be to repair a screen?
Right.
So we went to YouTube, watched a video, and I was like, wow, this is really easy. And I would see the screen repair kits in the back of the Home Depot by the like window cleaning section. And I was like, let's give it a shot, So we decided to give it a shot. And the next time, I think we got to a point where someone would ask us and we'd say, yeah, we'd do it. We'd give them a quote and we'd do it. But not only that, it created an opportunity for us to upsell, because when you clean windows, you have to take the screens out. And when you take the screens out, you can feel if they're flimsy. You can see if there's if the screen mesh is like burnt from the sun and very brittle. That's a problem. You can see if there's screen mesh that's ripped or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can take it and be like, hey, look, do you see this? I noticed this on this screen. I noticed this on this screen. And it's like that for most of your screens. We can just repair them all for X, Y, and Z while we're here. And a lot of times they'd say yes. And so we'd upsell an extra $300 or whatever it was for however many screens they wanted repaired while we're there on the site. So great upsell opportunity, but we ended up getting into it and started repairing screens, and we started charging. Do you remember what we were charging?
I want to say for like just repairing the mesh, which is super easy, I think it was like $15 per screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if they wanted the frames repaired, which that's when it gets kind of difficult, is we were charging $30 or something.
Yeah.
But we ended up getting into it, and people started asking us to repair their frames, and that was such a pain in the ass. We ended up just not offering it anymore because it was so annoying, because sometimes you'd have to take the screens home, repair them in the garage, drive them back.
Right.
A whole different business, right? Divided attention equals divided results. Same concept as the solar panel cleaning. Ended up dropping that. And I started to, if one of our technicians ever broke a screen or I needed to refer screen repair out, I ended up building a relationship with the owner of a company called Mobile Screen Service or Mobile Screen Repair Service in Orange County. This business does just over $5 million a year just repairing screens.
And that was like 3 years ago. They could be doing more now.
They're probably doing more.
Yeah.
I know the owner's loaded because he had a big ass like Ford Raptor lifted Ford Raptor in the parking lot. So I'm like,
Right.
okay, this guy's printing, you know? And I would go back there sometimes to take our customer screens that one of our guys broke to get repaired. And they would quote me. Sometimes it'd be like $45-$50 for just this normal screen repair. And the owner of that company had like 10 technicians in the back of that warehouse, this big ass warehouse, just hammering screens and fixing screens. And they've served over, I think their tagline is like over 20,000 customers served.
Wow.
So he's a huge list of these people. And if you have 2-3 broken screens on a house, most of the owners are going to be like, well, they're already broken. Like, let's just repair them all.
Right.
So you have really large average order value. I really like the business, low startup cost, huge opportunity. I did a comb through on Zoom Info, and there's a lot of $1-million and multi-million-dollar screen repair businesses out there, but no one really talks about it. It's kind of like an unpopular home service. Nobody really knows it exists. So I wanted to talk about it.
So what I'm hearing is we need to start Mobile Screen Repair Academy.
Genius. Genius.
I really do. I agree with you. It's a great business model. You don't really need to have a ton of money or anything to like start up. Dude, fixing the mesh part was super easy. Takes like 5 minutes, or dude, less than 5 minutes to fix one of those. Like, you can get to the level where he's at, where he has a whole warehouse, technicians, but you can start out in a car with a couple of tools. So
Yeah, that's
I
what I'm
think it's
saying.
great.
Low startup cost, huge upside, great business, boring business of the week.
dude, I love that one. That was a solid boring business of the week.
That's what I'm
We're
saying.
gonna have to bring a better one next week.
You will. I did this one. You got to do the next one.
Okay.
All right. I think it's a good spot to end it.
Yep.
All right.
See you guys next week.
Home Service Academy, link in the bio if you want to build a cleaning business. 16 weeks will help you from dirt to however big you want to take it. You just have to be willing to put in the work. Link in bio. Peace.